Hi everyone, welcome to Tangle with Tracy Anne. This week I'll be doing some tangles with twists. I'll also show you how I get inspired and where I find my tangles. One of the most comprehensive resources for tangle patterns is TanglePatterncom, run by Linda Farmer. There's so many tangles on there that they've produced this book, Tangle Guide, and I've got an old version, but as you can see as I flip through, you can see at a glance the tangles, and then when you find one that you want to use, if you click on it, it will take you back to the website where you can then find more information about the tangle, who it was developed by, and the step out. So my next step then is to go to my sketchbook and just sketch out quite roughly some of the ones that I've selected. And this gives me an idea of what works and what doesn't work. I then have a bit of a play around with how I'm going to put them on the page, and I did experiment with them tangled in a curved manner, but I decided to go with the flat ribbon effect. So for this project I'm using a black tile, white and gold gel pens, a white charcoal pencil and a tortillon. So I'm going to start drawing a line. It's about 3/4 of an inch and another one parallel to it. Turn the tile and do the same thing on each edge. Now with my gold Gellyroll pen, I'm going to trace these parallel lines just up until I hit that last pair that go in the opposite direction. And do this on each side. Notice how I get to that last pair of lines going vertically, I stop and then continue the lines on the other side of them. Be really careful using your gold gel pen that you don't smudge it. We're getting a lot of lines on the tile and the gold dries quite slowly, so be really careful where you put your fingers. Once the gold pen is completely dry, I'm going to go in with my eraser and just rub out any of the unnecessary white chalk lines. I'm now going to go in and thicken these lines by first drawing an aura. Once I've done that, I can colour in between the two parallel lines. Again, really careful about smudging this gold pen. Trust me, I know, I've done it. You'll find that by doing this, you also have the opportunity to straighten up your lines a little bit. So you can be a bit strategic in where you place that second aura. If you're finding that it's a bit wonky in one part of the line, you can draw the aura on one side and sort of neaten it up as you go along. I have a lot of gold on this tile right now, so once I'm finished I'm going to just pop it in the sun to let it completely dry. Using my white gel pen, I'm going to draw the tangle Fandango by Vicky Bassett, and this starts with a zigzag. Just leave a bigger space at the bottom than you do at the top. The reason for this is because now I'm going to draw an aura underneath, and I need room to be able to do that. So as I go along, notice that when I hit those vertical lines, I've drawn it as if it's sitting underneath, so that the zigzag continues as if I'd drawn it on the top. Within each of those V sections, draw a line and then one on either side of it. I probably could have left a little bit more room between this V shape and the border. That way I'd have more room to make these lines a little bit longer so that they extend beyond the zigzag. Now I'm going to join each of those points with a scallop, so it makes a little fan shape. With the white charcoal pencil, do a little bit of shading in each of the V sections. I'm not going right to the edge, and when I blend this with my tortillon, I want to leave the outside edge pretty black. So I don't want to spread that white charcoal all the way to the edge. And I'm finding that as I do this, my tortillon gets a little bit full of white, so it's handy to have a bit of scrap paper nearby that you can wipe some of that excess white off. I've done my shading quite heavy, so another thing you could do is perhaps not put as much shading on as I've actually done here. The next step in this tangle is the twisty bit. So I'm going to use my gold Gellyroll for this, and I'm drawing an S shape with an aura and then colouring that in so that the line looks like it's twisting. Do a little bit behind there, twisting between this zigzag. So you start that S shape from the underneath of one of those V's in the zigzag, draw over the other side of the V until you get to the top of the next V. That way it has that illusion of twisting through that zigzag. So there you have Fandango. The next tangle is called Flower Vine by Susan Punt. Using my white Gellyroll, I'm drawing some petal shapes, and you can notice I'm leaving a space in between, and that space is the same size as the petal shape. I'm swapping now to my gold Gellyroll pen, and I'm going to again use an S shape. So it goes from the center of one petal down to the center of the next, and then aura that. So you can see we have that twist of this line from one petal to the next. And just estimate where that pattern would sit as if it was going underneath that strip above it. Now go back and colour in between the two parallel lines of the twist. Give your gold pen enough time to completely dry, then come in with a white gel pen and fill those little gaps with another petal. So draw the petal as if it's sitting behind that twisted line, and do that all the way along. Now I can go back in and add some more petals. And if you like, you can add some little lines at the centers of these flowers. I think I'll also add a little bit of shading with my white charcoal pencil. Then blend that in with your tortillon. The next tangle is called DNA by Cindy Knapp, and I'm going to start this tangle using my gold pen, and it's a series of kind of hooks, or almost C shapes, but more hook shape. So do that from one end to the other. Let that gold pen completely dry, and then come back in with your white gel pen and draw a little curve from one side of that hook to the other, not right to the end, and then draw a series of lines coming from the same point. Once you get to the end, then draw a line from the tip to the center of that curve, and you could add, if you've got room, another couple of lines. I'm now going to shade where that twist happens, and maybe a little bit from that point where the original lines started out. And now blend that in with your tortillon. I realise I just missed a little bit there, so I'll just add that in. The next tangle is called Scalump by Sarah Urim, CZT, and it starts off with a line right down the centre. I'm using my white gel pen. Then on either side of that, I'm going to do a wavy line. Make sure that it mirrors the other side. Then I'm going to fill in the gaps with more lines until we have a whole series of wiggly lines there. If you find you have some bigger gaps, you can just sort of fill that in. Then I'm going to switch over to my gold gel pen. On the narrow parts of this pattern, I'm going to do 2 gold rings and continue this all the way along on those narrow sections of the pattern. Now for that twisty bit. So I'm going to draw a line that kind of hooks around and an S shape again, tucks around the back. So it's diagonally spiraling around that wider part of the pattern. With my charcoal pencil, I'm now going to shade the narrow sections of this pattern, just going in between those gold lines. Then blend that in. You could leave this as it is, as it looks quite pretty, but I'm just going to add a background tangle. First of all, with my white gel pen, I'm going to aura those boxes. I'm now going to add one of my favourite background tangles, Sand Swirl by Kerry Hune. Now in her step out, she starts this way by drawing a few stems or like fescue kind of shapes. And once she's done that, she then auras starting from one side where the little head kind of thing goes, and do a series of auras. Keep adding auras until that whole section is filled in. I tend to prefer to start and do one at a time. So start with that fescue shape and then keep auraing around, and then you can add other shapes as you go along. And this gives a bit more of a twisted kind of a pattern. And finally add some shading with a white charcoal pencil and blend it in with the tortillon. So this is my tile full of twisted patterns, and I'll find a little spot where I can add my initials. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you aren't already subscribed to this channel, do that so that you don't miss out on future videos. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay safe and bye for now. If you'd like to see more of my videos, there's a couple of links here on the screen, or head over to my YouTube channel. And while you're here, click on that subscribe button.